I mean, he had this fake account under like a fake Mayo name or something.
Yes.
That's him because I called the guy's number. I called him driving home after we did some case stuff yesterday. And he tweeted out a picture of that time and my name on it. He also tweeted out a picture of my house.
Right.
But like not a Zillow picture of my house.
Yeah, if it was from like Google Earth or something, the license plate would have been blurred.
Yeah, it wasn't. So
Did he stop by or
no,
something?
I have no idea if it's some. I have no idea.
Jesus Christ.
So I want to make this loud and clear to anybody who associates with this guy. I'm not kidding around anymore. So I mean, did you contacted the police, Steve?
Yes.
Okay, and I spoke to his niece today.
Hello there. Welcome to the Kirk Minahan wrap-up show. I am joined today by Blind Owl and Sad Menners. Menners is sad for some reason. We'll get into that in just a little bit. So the clip you just heard was how the show started off. Kirk was bullshit. A picture of his house was floating around there, was put out there by Martin Riesler, a.k.a. Zonker. He's a giant shitbag. So the show, Kirk and Steve pretty much came out and said, if you have any contact with this man, if you play around with him, it's over. It's done. You're just going to be blocked by the show. They even went as far as saying they're going to dox you. They're going to, if it's fine that, Zonker is allowed to dox all these Minifans, go after Kirk's kids, go after Kirk's house, which is essentially what he's doing. And Zonker is also on the record saying he wants Kirk to kill himself. So they decided, we'll just play the same game that Zonker did. So that's kind of how the show started off today. It started off hot, fiery. It got a lot lighter towards the end. But yes, I'm joined today by Blind Owl. How are you doing?
Always good, always good.
And then Sad Menners. Would you like to explain why you're sad today?
Yeah, I'm just feeling really depressed about the Minifan world this week, Justin. I think it's been a really bad week for Minifans, and started with Red being doxxed, and it's ended with the horrible stuff that Zonker's doing, and in between there's been a load of ugly stuff. So yeah, it's been a down week. We've lost a few shows. Some network shows aren't coming back anymore, and really it just feels like the whole Miniverse has taken a massive hit this week.
Yes, it is. It has not been a fun week, I would say. The reason why I asked to have you on today was to kind of not compare and contrast, but to see, you were on the show last Wednesday. I enjoyed your segment. You were kind of seen as not necessarily an enemy, but a contrarian. But you played along with it. You kind of went along with the joke. I know you're a huge fan of the Kirk Minahan show. I know you would never want anything to happen to the Kirk Minahan show or any people who are involved with it. So I just wanted to kind of get and I know you have a hatred for Martin as well. So I just kind of wanted to get your perspective on Kirk coming out and saying enough is enough. If you have any interaction with these people, you're done. You're getting blocked. You're getting doxxed. It's all over.
Yeah, well, I guess firstly, I mean, it's a pretty absurd notion to think that a lot of these people have jobs that Kirk is going to go after. So he's not going to have much luck sending letters to their employers because they're mostly fucking unemployed. But generally, I will say that, what I don't understand is it was really clear last summer when Kirk took a break that that fucking asshole Zonker was a true enemy, like not someone that you can have a bit of a laugh about and play around with. He was someone that needed to be completely expunged from the world. And, there are certain Minifans that thinks it's okay to play a bit of slap and tickle and interact on Twitter and have a bit of a laugh. And then, we have these stupid mincels do this bracket where they put Zonker on it to sort of make it seem, if you're Zonker, you're thinking, a lot of them think I'm a bit of a fun contrarian, and they're they're having a bit of a joke around with me, and they don't understand the gravity and the seriousness of the situation. And for John, BA, Phil, Will, or Jay, Aussie Stoolie, all these people to sort of play slap and tickle around this bracket. And at the end of it all, when I reached out to BA personally and said, I don't know what you guys are fucking doing, but this is not a joke. Like, this is someone who's trying to hurt Kirk, who's trying to hurt the show, et cetera, et cetera. They go, it's the perfect bracket. We know what will be perfect if you all got those GVE t-shirts, use them to fashion a noose and fucking hang yourselves.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think some people treat it as a complete joke. I understand, some things in this universe are we do treat as a joke, like as per se, like, the Menner's personality coming on the show to kind of fight I went over that, I believe, last week on the wrap up show.
Menner's
But,
starving his employees. I mean, that happened, but that's
That's true.
funny.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
to come out there and say, oh, it's the perfect bracket. I don't know or care about what this bracket is. I just know that involving him in any way is just not a good idea. It's just should not be allowed. And Kirk's had enough of it. Like he said on the show, he's like, so he posted a picture of my house. If he has if he does anything to or about Kate and Harry, he's like, I have the address. It's not going to be good. So these are the kind of people that we do not want in the universe. We cannot accept them. We just can't accept them. So
Yeah,
I'm glad.
Justin, we had Red, one of the great Minifans, completely
Yes.
fucking doxed on the weekend. And then a day later, these idiots are playing a joke around on the Minifan bracket thinking, oh, let's put Zonker on. I mean, a day before they
I
had
agree.
an example of one of their mates getting completely fucked over. Maybe his job is in jeopardy and, they think it's funny just to do this bracket. I mean, they should all just fuck off. Honestly, they should find another podcast. They clearly just saw the Barstool logo on the Kirk Minahan show and thought this is their shot to be a big cat or something. Well, just go, float away, go and start a club with Zonker and you can all circle jerk each other and have your little GVE fucking jerk off fest.
Well, as somebody who's been blocked by Zonker since that whole thing began, it's just all it is they're trying to look for something to get them spoken about on Kirk's show. It's that simple. And they say, oh, well, we deal with this person that, Kirk doesn't like. It's one thing putting, I don't know, Shirley Leung on the bracket because she's not really, she's an enemy, but she's not going after anyone other than the Kirk Minahan show personally. And she's been pretty much defeated, obviously. And then you put the guy like this that's going after random Minifans and Kirk and his family and Justin and all these people. It's just, you got to separate the real world from the Kirk Minahan world at some points.
Yeah, and I think to kind of encapsulate all this, I think if you go back, and I like the Kirk and Off guys, I truly do. If you go back and listen to their episode with BA, it shows everything what he's about. He said he's not a Minifan. He is a Minifan fan. He likes the attention. He likes, his name being brought. He literally said this thing on the Kirk and Off episode.
He just wants friends, Justin. I mean, you can't imagine he has any friends. I mean,
who would hang out with that guy?
Dickhead.
So that, I mean, that's really, I 100% support the show. I've had some people in the DM saying, oh, how can you be doing this? I 100% support the show. Like Kirk and Steve said today, like Justin would die for the show, and they're not very far off. So I mean,
long-time Kirk fans will know his one thing that he's always held very close to his heart is loyalty. Loyalty. He wants people to show loyalty, and when you're playing slap and tickle with his enemies, you're not showing loyalty. And if you're going to be disloyal, I don't think Kirk should hold back in doxing these people.
No, yes. if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If you're going to threaten his kids and everything, well, you're next in line.
So, or if you support people, that threaten his kids, they're it's secondhand. And if no one if everyone just gave the middle finger to Zonker, which hopefully from now on no one interacts with him, no one does anything with him, he'll just float away into non-existence. He'll go party with his mom wherever she is, or whatever fucking behind McDonald's or fucking Burger King she's buried at.
Slutty Rita, they used to call her.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's all there is to say in regards to kind of the doxing. I know that was kind of the big takeaway from today. It's what everyone's been talking about on Twitter. I will agree. I thought Manners was going to come on here and say, the reason for sad Manners would be something like, oh, I'm sad because
the cookies are on the top shelf today.
Yeah, or something like that. But no, you made a great point. It has been a sad 2 weeks for the past for the Miniverse. I mean, we lose Red. We lost, great people like Tim Ridgels, Madawaska Rob.
Yeah, good people.
Is a super nice guy. I mean, I hate it when people say that. It's super nice, like, oh, he's super nice, blah, blah, blah. But these people are great Minifans, great people. And the fact that their families and that they're jobs are being threatened by this piece of shit, it just cut the shit. No more interacting with them. So
Yeah, and it's very simple. All you got to do is a good disavow and block, and see you later. And I'm sure everything will be fine. But it's these people that, well, we can't. It's contrarian. No, fuck that. You got to disavow.
Justin, have you started a band list for the network? You know, BA, John. Well, you know, who else is on the list?
So Steve kind of said, he's like, use your discretion. Anyone who kind of interacts with Zonker. So I'm kind of just taking it on a case-by-case basis. So the people who interact with Zonker, they know who they are. So if they come to me and they say, hey, I want to be on this show, or I'd like to do that, I would just straight up just say no.
Okay. But like BA is obviously on it. John from Scranton.
Correct.
Who else?
Will, Phil, Sneakers, Fez. Like these are just names I'm just throwing off the top of my head. But it would be like, let's say if you and BA for some reason decided to come to me and say that you wanted to do a show based on cricket, I would say, no. Cool. I said, Manners, you can do it, but BA's not doing it.
Okay.
So so I don't know. The state of the YouTube channel is what it is. I know a lot of people are afraid to do shows. You know, we don't have too many people out there, but I'm going to try to figure something out in the next couple weeks.
The Blind Owl Hour is always open for.
Oh shit! Yeah, I mean that would always be fun.
Ziggy Robertson style masked manners.
Yeah. So anything else before we move on to the next segment?
Nope.
He's a loser.
And just say surrender. Just say I surrender and move on. No big deal.
But Kirk, I just wanted to say my piece. That's all.
Oh, go ahead, please. The floor is yours. I beg your pardon. Go ahead.
Because I have all these little people in your world.
Here we go.
Coming at me.
Another victim.
You never hear me get triggered by Minifans. You know that. If you listen to the first half hour of the show tonight.
I said on this very show.
Yep.
The last time I came on, I said, you know what? Now that I realize everything that's going on, Kirk is definitely a much bigger fan than I am, and I acknowledge that.
Thank you.
So that was Captain Cons. He called in. I love it. After that call, like 15 minutes after that call, Kirk just goes, well, why did we have Cons on again? And I think it was more. So when I re-listened to the show, I listened to it this morning. I re-listened to it recently in the past couple hours, and I think he did that because he was trying to avoid being grouped in kind of the K Marco, Ellie Schnitt. He thought he was going to get, because he took a lot of shit after the trivia game. I went after him a little bit. It was all good fun. It was nothing serious, but I think he was like, fuck, the Minifans are not some people you want, where every single tweet you come at, there's tweets saying, fire K Marco, or go bomb a police station to Ellie and stuff like that. So I think he wanted to come on and just make clear that he's like, I want to come out and say, Kirk, you know more Bruce Springsteen than me. I'm not denying that. So I think he was just trying to protect himself there. I like Cons. He reached out to me after the trivia match, post some jokes. He was like, just to be sure, are you an employee of Kirk? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I wasn't trying to be a dick or anything. So that was
no, he saw what Casey did, called him the next day, fell on the sword.
I think he saw what Kate did. So I believe that since he's on a show with Kate and Chaps, there was two ways he could have went about this in his mind, because obviously, him lying about knowing Bruce Springsteen isn't on the same level as supporting the Chinese Communist Party or trying to get Kirk fired. But Kate's and Chaps went about it in two completely separate ways. Chaps said, nope, not coming on the show. I'll talk to you off air. Kate, she played along with it on the show. She made that she made a video for Sacco, and the Minifans, I don't want to say embraced her, but kind of like, okay, she's in on the joke. She gets it. She made this whole thing where she spoke in with Chinese subtitles and everything like that. So I think he was like, okay, so I can either take this to Chaps' way, of whom almost 2 years later is still being brought up and people will still bring this up to Chaps, or you could go the Kate way and just kind of take his quote unquote beating on air, let people know that like he is a part of it. He embraced it. So that's kind of what I saw. The point of him calling in, I think it was more of a con wanting this more than the show wanting to have Cons on. Manners, I don't know if you listened and thought any differently.
No, I just thought it was a complete. It's like Kirk was in a roller and just ran over Cons. I mean, he's a fake Bruce fan. It's not a fake Bruce fan, but Kirk's on this level and Cons is down here. I mean, I loved it when they were doing the guess the song thing, and it was like a couple of seconds. Cons just comes across as somebody who's listened to a few Bruce albums and gone, I'll throw my hat in there as being a super fan. I mean, he knows nothing. I mean, it's so yeah, it was a huge win for Kirk. Clearly, he is the Bruce super fan at Barstool, and Cons just has to take his medicine.
Yeah, Blind Owl, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, like I said, you said it as well. He just came in, take his lumps. Okay, now I'm a buddy. I'm buddy with him now. I'll fall on the sword. I'll say, yeah, you're better than me. Everything, and to an extent, it worked. I mean, I'll still personally mock him for not knowing it and saying he was a big Bruce fan, but it's not going to be, like you said, to the extent of, Brandon Walker and all these people blocking us.
I think that's what his fear was. I don't think it would ever get that way because I don't think Minifans care too much about Cons being a fraud when it comes to Bruce Springsteen trivia. But yeah, so that was kind of the second that kind of loosened Kirk up a bit, I thought, from the whole doxing, the whole Minifan, Mincel type sort of thing.
So a lot of people, and I'm wondering, why would you defend Rachel Kirkconnell?
I am an imperfect man.
Oh, stop. I cannot be part of this.
I mean, that doesn't seem ridiculous to people.
You think that's a?
I know.
You think it's an overcharge for a crime? You guys sit there and beg for your forgiveness to fucking Michael Strahan on Good Morning America.
Right,
I'm an imperfect man. I love that.
Reminds me of the South Park episode when Randy Marsh has to go kiss Al Sharpton's ass.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of begging for forgiveness, so Cons comes on, begs for forgiveness, says, "Hey, Kirk, you're a bigger Bruce fan than I am. I completely understand that." They circle back. Mike's in. They're gonna have to talk cancel culture. I don't think there's ever been a show where Mike is in and they have not talked cancel culture.
It never fucking ends.
It never fucking ends. So Chris Harrison did this interview with Good Morning America, Michael Strahan, and he pretty much bent over and said, "Fuck me in the ass. I've done nothing right in this whole situation. Please, Lord, forgive me for everything I've done. I'm seeing like a race therapist, which I didn't know was the thing that existed." And I thought it was hilarious just to hear that interview, just what of a pussy move Chris Harrison did, because I believe it was either Kirk or Steve said that it doesn't matter what he says, like he's not going to get that job as host of The Bachelor back. So him coming out and doing this is he's just pissed off both sides. Now there's the people who think he's the blatant racist for coming out and saying don't ruin this girl's life just yet. He wasn't even like opposed to ruining her life. He's like, just hold on a week or two, let's figure some more things out. And then now you have the other people who are like, oh, this pussy's apologizing for it. So that was a fun segment. I think that's where Mike kind of shines. I don't know if you boys have any.
I mean, we're all imperfect. I mean, what can you say? But Chris Harrison, the only thing he could have done there is just not done anything. If I were him, I wouldn't have gone on to apologize. I would he's been there for God knows how long. Take your money, move, go right off into the sunset. There was no need to apologize there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mike was in his element, wasn't he? As soon as cancel culture brought up, it's something he's so passionate about, and we hear the same take every time it's brought up. But I did think that he and Kirk had a particularly good rapport in this show. I thought they actually were really funny, and there was lots of good jokes between them, and they were bouncing off each other like they did, last summer when the show was at its peak. And it's amazing because I've always said Kirk can lift everybody up. I mean, I listened to some of the Blind Mike Project this week, and I couldn't get through more than a couple of minutes. It was the most depressing, unlistenable, boring podcast. But you put Mike with Kirk, and all of a sudden he comes alive. He's funny. He's engaging. He's entertaining. Mike had a great show, and just great between the two of them. So I would say good day for Mike.
Yeah, I think it was a great day for Mike. Even later when they were playing the Mike cuts from the Blind Mike Project, where he said, like, there's nothing wrong with fucking a woman consensually. Just these things taken out of context are just.
That is true. I've heard that.
Yes. Rumor has it that is probably the way to go. But yeah, so I mean, there's not really much else to say on Chris Harrison. I'm not a Bachelor fan. I don't know if you boys are particularly high or watch The Bachelor. I know it's extremely popular.
Not even my fiance watches that crap. So
yeah, so it is. I don't know. It is what it is. But this, you would think that the Chris Harrison interview would have been the peak comedy of the day. Kirk and Mike going back and forth at each other. Well, let's just bring on an absolute clown. This next video was made by Warden of the North. It's on at Acoustic Theory on Twitter. Please, follow him. He does an excellent job. He does the parodies. But let's introduce the funniest part of today's show.
A, not today. B, that's still sports. C, no.
We have exciting news in the WNBA.
I think that might be one of the best cuts that has come out of the Kirk Minahan show in a year. I really can't think.
Classic.
The Mike I raped one was funny, but this is I fucked my mother. That was an incredible one.
That's a good one.
The duck. This one is just going to be played, and I think it's just going to be played at the most inopportune moments. Manners, I know you're not a Steve guy. I have faith that Steve will be able to use this sound and make the show better. I can't stop laughing when he just kept playing it over and over and over and over again. It was quite something. And I don't know if you boys saw, but Julie DiCaro actually retweeted Acoustic Theory and said, you're an asshole or something like that.
I'm blocked. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. So
I'm actually working on a theory that I think the warden is Steve.
Really?
My ultra conspiracy theory that Warden of the North is Steve Robinson, and this is all Steve's master plan. Have this, enemy that's releasing all this stuff under a different handle.
I like that.
Bold theory.
That.
I could see that.
That is a very bold theory. But
wow,
I love when Julie DiCaro stuff gets brought up. She's the biggest fraud. She's written things in the past, talking about. I think it was Super Bowl 48. Where she talked about let's rate all the asses of the players in the Super Bowl, but then she'll tweet out now that women are objectified in sports, which is true. I mean, but she just doesn't see any hypocrisy in it. They go on about. I listened to her podcast, The Ladies Room, and
crossover with the men's room. Hopefully,
it was tough. It was one of the hardest moments of my life trying to get through that.
Wow. That's a tough.
Mike show.
Just
Craig's not on that show, is he?
Yeah. So no. So that show was just so terrible. They literally all they talked about was that WNBA owner, getting ousted, and to think that the WNBA player is wearing a shirt that said we don't like Kelly something, whatever her last name is.
Kelly Loeffler.
Yeah, Kelly Loeffler. To say that somehow had anything to do with Donald Trump not winning the presidency is absolutely insane. Julie DiCaro, whenever she gets brought up, one of my favorite moments was not last summer, but I believe it was the winter of 2019, kind of early 2020, when Julie DiCaro was going back and forth with Kirk. It was in March when Kirk took his first leave, and Julie was celebrating, which is a very strange move to do, and just prank calling her on the score in Chicago. So I love all of Julie DiCaro. I can't get enough of her. I actually did pre-order her book. I plan on reading it, and just laughing my ass off. I'm not as excited as Kirk is, but I'm pretty damn excited. So
Justin, will you do a live reading so I can hear it?
I might. It all depends on what Kirk plans on doing with it. So it's perhaps I will get the out. There was talks of, is there going to be an audiobook of this? I don't know. Perhaps
I looked. That seems discriminatory that there is not.
Yes.
May have to file a grievance.
So Manners, how do you feel about the DiCaro.
The whole bit was great. I even loved when they called Kevin DiCaro, called Kevin Clancy that. Just a great bit, hilarious. And she's, going to provide a lot of fodder, I think, for the show over the next few months.
I think Steve, this has been a good, Steve has been improving with his drops. He's been getting better and better and better as the show has progressed.
I know Menners has some Steve takes, so we'll actually get into that next before we go on to talk about the phone calls. But Menners, were you the first phone call did you call in to the show last night? Were you the first one on? One who said, the person who was like, I want to make sure Steve is getting paid fairly? It sounded a bit like you.
That was a Menners call. I know that for a fact.
But it sounded like your vocabulary. It just sounded like something you would want to do to make sure that Steve is getting fairly compensated for his work.
Absolutely. I turn every night.
Which I don't want to talk about this call too long, but it's kind of funny that Kirk was like, okay, Steve, can we fucking abort this guy now? Steve would have had to go on forever and ever. So,
clearly there was a few planted calls by Steve in this. There's no doubt about that. He had sent messages to the Robber fans and got them ready. It's been a tough couple of weeks for Steve. So I totally get where he's coming from. A lot of planted calls. But I did.
Are you kidding? That wasn't planted. The guy was just an idiot.
No, I think the
guy Josh from Illinois.
I did think we did get cunty Steve today. Like when he made some snarky comment about the WNBA, and I was just like, this is why I don't like you, because just below the surface, you're always being a snarky prick. He talked down to the WNBA, and I actually don't like that. I don't, talking down to women's sport is bad. I can understand Kirk's point of view where he thinks it should be economically, the sports that make the most money should get paid that way. That's a reason take. But, Steve being snarky to women's sport, I mean, he should grow up. He also got snarky to the guy who asked him about the cast iron. I mean, you've got the cooking stuff. You've got one of your fans trying to engage with you on something you're interested in, which is cooking. And then all of a sudden you just snarky at him. It was just like, just don't be an asshole. You've had a few wins, you've defeated Mayo and everything. Can't you just be nice guy for one show? So, that was pretty bad. And then he obviously couldn't answer the 10th and 14th Amendment question correctly. So
I didn't know where that was going though. I didn't know if that was a joke or what that was. She seemed to be being, coaxed by someone to do that phone call. But no, I can see where Menners, as an anti-Steve guy, could kind of see not really liking the cockiness and kind of the, I don't want to say what was Kirk calling him, pseudo intellectual? He's kind of he's very confident this week, and I can see.
No, he's laying it out on the table because he got
Mike
few
confident
answers.
and then there's Steve confident, and they're completely two different types of confident. When Mike's confident, he's like, oh, I can go back and forth with these guys. When Steve's confident, he's like, not that he's looking down at people necessarily, but he's definitely kind of gives off that better than aura, which I love about him. So but yeah, so the phone calls today were very, very, they were up and down. There was one
very
phone
up and down
call in particular. I mean, Timmy Canton calls in. He had some trivia that was fun. It's always good to hear.
Love those.
Timmy Canton. Blind Mike's penis with a terrible call.
Huge
I was
swing and miss. I'm a big Blind Mike's penis guy, but that was a swing and a miss.
Do you want to say that? Blind out?
Manners. So by the way, yes. I just received a message from who I believe is Steve Robinson. He says you are a pussy, and he will laugh at the WNBA all he wants.
Okay.
I mean, Manners, in Steve's defense here, what's the last women's sport you watched?
I mean, I actually
I rest my case.
I watched a lot of women's cricket. I commentated on a game a couple of weeks ago. So, I watch women's cricket all the time.
Yeah, well, I actually
3 days ago I watched a game.
3 days ago.
I don't differentiate between women's sports and men's sports, so I don't know about you two, but I think the fact that you even consider that the two sports are,
can you not gender these people out? It's really, just can we just go? They played.
I call them like I see them, Manners, and that's not very often.
So I just passed on that information, but then there was one call that Steve played a part in.
That was
that made me so uncomfortable.
Here we go.
Who are you?
Steve's bitch.
Yeah, now get down on your knees,
Steve's
all right?
bitch.
Get down on your knees. Grab that fucking ball gag, okay? Put it in your mouth. Tighten that right up, all right?
He took to this a little too well.
Oh, what the fuck's going on?
And I want you to grab onto your dick, okay?
I'm kind of getting hard here.
I want you to start.
Bring it home, Steve.
Well, he's jerking off now. So, let's bring it home.
Come on, Steve. Get this guy to come.
I just want you rub and tug that, like Steve's little bitch.
I mean, Manners, even you have to admit that was pretty funny.
Oh, absolutely. I put that in my. That was a classic.
So awkward.
That's one of
those.
That's one of those ones you have to look and just when you're playing it and you just look around like, all right, is anybody around me hearing this?
Yeah. Go ahead, Menace.
Well, I just, Steve played along with it. He's clearly got, some sick sexual side that just came to the surface. But, I think that was one of the funniest calls we've had in ages. And Mike said it was very disturbing, and it was disturbing. I mean, hearing Steve in that element. Well, anyway, Steve's bitch.
I love being uncomfortable in an uncomfortable situation, but that was just a lot to deal with on a Friday morning.
I was hoping that Mike got to get one of his low confidence to do that, just to hear him, try to get someone off in a dominant way when he just got shit on for doing a stupid take or fucking up in some way. But no, that was hilarious. That was
an underrated Mike comment with the he's taken this pretty well.
yeah. So I don't know. So to the first caller's point, I mean, if Steve's not making enough money, for working for Barstool Sports, I'm sure he could do a part-time, nighttime gig as kind of a dominatrix sort of thing.
Well,
around
OnlyFans. I think Steve should start an OnlyFans.
Wow.
I wanted to start an OnlyFans for the longest time, and I was told we're going to put a hold on that to try to, raise some money for something.
You're going to dump him out on camera, Justin? Wow.
I think Steve would have made a great, dominatrix as was proven today. So that kind of, they kind of wrapped up the show with the calls. They were like, okay, let's kind of end on this. I do like how Kirk though at the end goes, and that guy just went back to like watching TV. It's like he's just on hold.
Yeah, that was Mike. That is a weird feeling.
I'm kind of sick of that. Like Mike says that about all the time. Like, okay, Mike, when you stop recording, you go to the toilet. Like that's life. Like, okay, these people call in and then they go back to their lives. What's so incredible about that?
Well, Menace, it's a little different when you're asking somebody to dominate you on the phone with a podcaster, and it's not his job.
Pornhub, and then they go, back. It's just, I don't think it's
that is
crazy.
Important. Like if you're watching, some porn video that's fucking like some dominant porn video, then you're gonna go wash your hands, make dinner or something. So,
but you're not physically involving yourself in the video. You're not calling in, giving directions. I mean, there are people that do that.
I don't know. I don't know. That's on the sexy time hour that will be on YouTube next week.
That's after hours.
Speaking of
one point I need to bring up that's been bothering me about the show. Kirk says a lot of very, very intelligent things, but he said something so incredibly stupid.
So Menace just dropped out.
Oh, I don't know what happened now. Wow.
No, I'm sorry.
He said that Eddie Murphy is an underachiever. And I'm just like, hello, he's certainly not an underachiever. He's worth like $200-300 million. As Kirk said, he was the most famous person on the planet for a couple of years. He's continued to have a successful movie career. And then at the in saying he's an underachiever, Kirk goes, oh, but he's got too famous. So yeah, I just think Eddie Murphy is certainly not an underachiever.
I will say they completely undersold Shrek and Shrek 2. Shrek 3, I understand it not being a great movie. Shrek and Shrek 2, fantastic movies. I'll watch them any day of the week. Great.
Myers has fell off the face of the earth.
Definite role model for you, Justin.
Yeah, no. I mean, did you know that Chris Farley was actually supposed to play Shrek? But then something happened to Chris Farley and went in a different direction. But so next week there's not going to be a Kirk Minahan show, and I'm sure a lot of people are taking this very hard. And so I know this is not saying much. So I'm going to be trying to try to do 3 shows next week: a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show. I've reached out to Mike. He said he would be willing to, come on, do a show with me. I already have some stories, some bits lined up. So hopefully that works out.
Taking calls.
Danny from Bill Ricca.
Yeah, got the T-shirt arrived.
Oh yes, no, beautiful. Yeah,
Nice.
right in time for
International shipping. All those international Minifans. Order your merch.
Yes. Wednesday, I have an idea for kind of like a solo show that I plan on doing. I think it's going to be fun. And I've also I haven't heard back from Jared, but I'm hoping to do something with the Rocket on Friday. And then I also I'd say it's a 90% chance in the next 3 weeks I'll be heading up to Madawaska for some ice fishing and for some scouting to see what street we can get changed to Minahan. So, there was also a couple things brought up on the show today that just weren't true. A caller said that Dave Portnoy was at a Sweet 16 party. That is incorrect. He was hanging out with a 26-year-old, and it was her sister's 21st birthday party. And I know some people were saying that's still creepy. He was not with the 21-year-old. And also, I don't know about you guys, but I think there's a big difference between 21 and 16. So
it's 5.
I think that just needed to be pointed out correctly. And also, when they were talking about the awards Kirk has won, and he said, I've never won any awards. And then Steve goes, well, you received the key to Madawaska. And I would like to point out that Kirk Minahan did not receive the key to Madawaska. It was incorrectly given to the Kirk Minahan show, which should be switched over and be given to Kirk Minahan solely himself. Should not be possession of the show. It should be possession of Kirk Minahan. So Kirk was actually right on not receiving any awards or anything from that. So that about wraps it up. I still have the Jared Carabas baseball card promo. I think I'm going to be running, since there's not any shows next week, I think I'm going to be running that for a bit longer. Just all you got to do is rate 5 stars, screenshot it, send it to me.
How many entries we got, Justin?
So far we're up to like 25.
Ooh.
So it's very, very, very exciting. But it's going to be a tough week without Kirk Minahan. But think of it this way. So we're losing 2 weeks of content. That's 6 shows in total. How many shows of the case are there?
8.
8. So we are actually getting 2 bonus shows if you look at it that way.
Hey,
I think it's a good time for the show to take a break, Justin. Hopefully all this kind of toxic stuff can settle down a bit. And
I'm sure there'll be more next week when people go after each other.
We got pessimistic blind owl over here. Not everyone was dealt the short stick. Let's
where the whole world is dark, you see nothing but darkness.
Yeah, let's try to be a little optimistic here. Manners, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap things up?
No, thank you for having me. And you're firming as the MVP for the Kirk Minahan show for 2021. So you've had a brilliant start to the year. So good luck for the rest of it.
The MVP of the Kirk Minahan show, I would like to say, is Kirk Seamus Minahan.
Of course, you're going to say that. Okay, you got the cock out of your mouth. We know.
I got it out of my mouth and in my ass, so it's stuck between a hard place and the rock. But so thank you to Blind Owl, thank you to Menners for joining me, thank you to everyone who is watching or listening. I will talk to you guys on Monday, hopefully with one blind Michael Geary.